Is it possible that Hamilton has found the key to returning Ferrari to its lost glory, and that neither Leclerc nor Vasseur saw it coming until now? On the cold morning of January 16, 2026, Maranello woke up with a tension that was difficult to describe. It was not an ordinary day at Ferrari headquarters. It was not a presentation or a public exhibition, but something much more intimate, more significant. The validation of months of hidden work, sacrifices and decisions that, at the time, unleashed storms within the team. In a private room of the technical center, surrounded by monitors, real-time data and faces that barely concealed expectation, three figures watched in silence: Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton and Frédéric Vasseur. This moment marked a before and after, not because of a public image, but because of what the numbers, simulations and analyses were beginning to reveal. There, in that space closed to the public and protected by the strictest industrial secrecy, was where the SF26, known internally as Project 678, was turned on for the first time. From the first turn on the test bench, something felt different. Engineers, hardened by years of development, held their breath as the monitors began to show what no one dared to expect. A level of aerodynamic efficiency and energy delivery that exceeded even the most optimistic projections. From his first minutes in the simulator, Hamilton did something that very few drivers in history know how to do: reinterpret the car to his advantage. It was not about imposing his style, but rather finding the areas of the car that responded to his technical and emotional demands. That medium aerodynamic window that generated so many problems in the SF25 now became an ally. Hamilton felt immediately that he could trust the SF26's rear axle. He felt that the car protected him under braking and allowed him to attack the corner entry with that measured aggressiveness that has defined his career since the days of McLaren. But what was most impressive was his ability to exploit that advantage without the need for ideal conditions. While other drivers need time, laps and fine adjustments to feel comfortable, Hamilton reacted with the intuition of a veteran who recognizes a competitive car as soon as he puts his hands on the wheel. The simulator recorded how his braking was later, how his mid-corner traction was cleaner, and how he maintained stability without compromising exit speed. It didn't take long for engineers to realize they were looking at something special. The SF26, with its more conventional ground-to-floor design and revised power management, seemed designed for Hamilton's hands. Not deliberately but symbiotically. As if, in Ferrari's attempt to correct their past mistakes, they had accidentally created a car that spoke the same language as their new star driver. That technical harmony, rarely visible in numbers, was clearly perceived in the telemetry data and in Hamilton's body language. I was comfortable. And in the language of Formula One, that is synonymous with danger for its rivals. What started as a simple technical test ended up turning into a limit exploration session. Hamilton didn't just find the rhythm. He began pushing the car into areas where it had never been taken during previous simulations. It forced power combinations, downforce variations and mapping changes that no one had yet contemplated. His experience became a mobile laboratory, and the SF26 responded. This was what really amazed the engineers. It wasn't just that Hamilton was fast. It was that his quick way of being revealed areas of development that were previously hidden. Areas that not even Leclerc, with all his raw talent, had reached. And that is not due to a question of superiority. It is simply a consequence of the background of a driver who has won 7 world championships and has driven under all conditions, philosophies and pressures imaginable. From a development standpoint, Hamilton became an invaluable tool. Its ability to identify the car's strengths and weaknesses in real time allowed the team to fine-tune aspects of the SF26 weeks in advance. Each session with him yielded information that not only helped improve the car, but also set new benchmarks for Leclerc. But this relationship was not competitive in the destructive sense. What was brewing between both pilots was something much more valuable, a technical synergy. Leclerc was beginning to see Hamilton not as a threat, but as a catalyst. A mirror in which he could observe the car's full potential and learn to activate it in his own way. In that context, Hamilton was not simply the fastest in the simulation. He was the quickest to understand what the SF26 could be. And in Formula One, that is many times more valuable than any pole position or fastest lap. Because championships are won in invisible work, in the details that no one sees. And Hamilton, once again, had shown why he remains one of the greatest to have set foot in a paddock. Charles Leclerc is no ordinary driver. He is someone who has built his reputation on precision, one-lap speed, and a surgical coolness in qualifying that has led him to more pole positions than victories. A pure talent, respected in the paddock, admired by the fans. But what he experienced in that technical center in Maranello, in front of Lewis Hamilton's data with the SF26, was something completely new. It was not a defeat, nor a direct comparison. It was something else. It was seeing how the car I had waited for years responded differently, and more effectively in the hands of another. And in that precise moment, Leclerc faced something more powerful than any rival on the track. The uncertainty of being overtaken by his own machine when he is not in control of it. The public reading of the matter was simplistic. Some headlines spoke of a humiliated Leclerc, as if the Monegasque had been relegated to a secondary role. But those who know the internal dynamics of Ferrari knew that what was really happening was subtler, deeper and more revealing. Leclerc was not surprised by Hamilton. I was surprised by the car. Or more specifically by the fact that Ferrari, for the first time since he joined the team, had built a car that could be dreamed of. Because that was the great epiphany. The SF26 wasn't just better than the SF25. It was competitive. It was stable, precise, with a much more intelligent energy balance, and above all, with an aerodynamic architecture that offered immediate responses to the minimum input from the pilot. What shocked Leclerc was discovering that the car was already ready, and that Hamilton had been the one who opened the door to that maximum performance before him. In the eyes of the team, this was eye-opening. They didn't have a star driver and a support driver. They had two different ways of understanding the same car, and both worked. Ferrari's true competitive advantage no longer resided only in a powerful car, but in having two drivers capable of pushing it to the limit, each with their own driving philosophy. But for Leclerc, the challenge was deeper, because it also meant maintaining his status within the team. With the arrival of Hamilton, Ferrari had entered a new stage. A stage where politics, hierarchy and strategic decisions could no longer be based on promises of the future. Leclerc was no longer the future of Ferrari. Now it was part of the present, and he had to prove it every day. That is Charles Leclerc's new scenario. A driver who no longer competes only against his rivals on the track, but against the internal demands of a team that now has what it takes to be champion. The SF26 has changed the rules of the game, and Leclerc knows it. If he wants to win that championship that has eluded him so many times, he will have to do it by being more than fast. You must be flexible, technical, and mentally unwavering. Because from now on, Ferrari doesn't just need talent. It needs constant evolution. And Leclerc, facing for the first time a teammate with 7 titles and a truly competitive machine, has the biggest test of his career in front of him. What happened in Maranello during the development of the SF26 was not a strident revolution. There were no grandiose statements, no empty promises, no marketing slogans. It was a silent transition, almost invisible but deeply significant. The change did not come from outside. It was born within, from within a structure that, for the first time in a long time, chose the most difficult path: to remain silent, work and let performance speak. And the most interesting thing is that all this is happening without fanfare, without fireworks, without messianic proclamations. Ferrari has not promised anything to the world. He's just showing what he can do. And that is the clearest sign of maturity that can be offered in a sport as political and emotional as Formula One. Lewis Hamilton, with all his experience and competitive instinct, has been an unexpected spark for this renaissance. Not because he came to save Ferrari, but because he has brought a new perspective, a new way of relating to the car, which has forced the team to rediscover itself. And Charles Leclerc, far from being left behind, is showing that his talent can also evolve, that it can learn, absorb, and transform into something more complete. This dynamic balance between present and future, between experience and talent, between aggressiveness and precision, may be the basis of the most solid project that Ferrari has had since the Schumacher era. And although there is still a long way to go, the signs are clear. The SF26 is not just a car. It is the starting point of a new philosophy. A philosophy that, if held firm, could return Ferrari not only victory, but the absolute respect of the paddock. And most importantly, it could give back to the Tifosi the hope that they have held for too long. Quietly, without fanfare, Ferrari is beginning to speak the language of champions. And this time, the rest of the grid should be listening carefully. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.